Thank you for joining the class again. You recall when we started the introduction the other time, I told you that you just have to get set for us to embark on this journey on the study of marketing. And that's the more reason why today we are commencing our lecture series 1 on the fundamentals of marketing. And on that basis, we are going to have an introduction of that very aspect of marketing that is very key. And so on that note, I want all of us to understand that we cannot indeed see how we can move on, but for us to also understand that we all understand what marketing is all about. So I need to let all of you understand that marketing is that arm of business that is visible. It is that arm of business that is visible, and because of that, we all have to ask, see how we can move on. There are various disciplines. You understand that in your faculty, like our Faculty of Management Sciences, you have accounting, you have banking and finance, you have public administrations, and actuarial science. But marketing under business administration is that aspect of business that is highly visible. It is the communication arm of business. It is that one that people see, and that is the more reason why we all have to try as much as we can to do that. So in this our course, the objective I want all of us to look at and achieve at the end of the day is that we're going to have a definition of marketing, then the building blocks of marketing. Then one critical thing that people also look about is the needs, wants, and demands of in marketing. We also talk about products, and then when we're talking about products, probably talking about the physical product and the non-physical one. We'll also talk about value and satisfaction, exchange, transactional relationships, markets. Then, of course, what we mean by marketing and the marketers, people need to understand. Then, of course, the marketing functions. Then we'll now end up the class with a kind of a cycle, which is a classification of the marketing function. On this note, let us start off with the definition of marketing. There are so many definitions of marketing and all this, but all I want you to understand is that marketing is a deliberate planned effort based on creating and identifying the needs and wants of the customers, and you satisfy those customers' needs profitably. It is an activity that is basically involved in ensuring that you create, you communicate, and deliver exchange of value to your customers, because that is what is key. And for you to do that, the society at large will appreciate your position in the arm of business and all that. And with all these dimensions, I tried as much as I can to look at it clearly, that marketing is the art and science of winning friends, and we cannot run away from that aspect. With the definition stated earlier, I will now want us to talk about the building blocks of marketing. And when we're talking about the building blocks of marketing, these are clear, effective, and indeed strategic steps that need to be carried about when you want to embark on a successful marketing campaign. And to do this, you must embark on in-depth research, strategic planning, calculated media placement, proper messaging, fitting, creative execution, and analysis. These are very, very important. These are what we call the building blocks of marketing, because once we want to talk about marketing, you have to try as much as you can to see what are the relevant and strategic parts, blocks that you need to put together in marketing. But to start it effectively, because there is a distinction between marketing and selling. For you to embark on marketing, you must do in-depth research and then strategic planning of what you want to do. Calculated media placement. So in other words, the media you are going to do, you have to try as much as you can to do a thorough analysis of the media, because you cannot just use any media, because there are some products that will be acceptable on television, some on radio, some on newspaper, whereas there are some that are not. Today we are in the era of digital marketing. So, and that's the more reason why we all have to look at this thing critically to see the feasibility of what is there. So those blocks are very critical when it comes to marketing. So it's important we take note of that. You now have to ask yourself, why marketing? What we're talking about, because this in the definition I talked about, marketing has to do with the identification of the needs, wants, and then you satisfy those needs profitably to the customers. And so why are we talking about needs, wants, and demands in marketing? Needs, wants, and demands are three important terms in marketing, and we cannot keep ourselves away from what those things are. No matter how similar they might seem to be, there are more differences in this than you might think. There are many layers within them, and they play a vital role in arriving at segmenting as well as targeting the popular target group in marketing. So what do we mean by the needs? So need, we need to understand, are very, very important. Those basic things that the customers will have to try as much as they can to put in place. Then the next thing we'll talk about is the product. In general, a product is defined as a thing produced by labor or effort or the result of an act or process. In marketing, a product is anything that can be offered to a market that might satisfy a want or need. In retail, products are called merchandise. So you have to now see yourself that, make it look at it clearly, that yes, product is that either tangible or intangible that satisfy the needs and wants of the customers. And so on the basis of that, you can now see that for whatever you are going to do, that must be something that is of value to the customers. And that is what will now take us to the next dimension when we're talking about value satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is very critical and very, very important in modern day business and marketing. So because in marketing, the satisfaction of the customer is what is critical, and it's very, very important that we all have to see to ourselves. For example, even as a lecturer, we're now having this discussion with you, having this lecture with you. So there are ways that you also gauge if the lecture is not effective, is not meeting the desire, your expectation, then it will not be considered that this lecture is not satisfactory. And so it is very, very important. We just have to ask ourselves on the need for us to see how we can move on. So it is important that modern day marketing, we also talk about value. Value is when a consumer perceives what they will want to get from the company or from the brand or from the service that might have been promised to them. So it is important to ensure that, yes, marketing, consumers are always interested in the value that is derivable from the promises made or from the products that will now be given to them. Then the other issue that we need to talk about is that in the definition of marketing, exchange, transaction, and relationship. Marketing occurs when people decide to satisfy needs and wants through the exchange. An exchange is the act of obtaining the desired object from someone by something in return. So for you to have anything to do with an individual in exchange, which means there is something that you're offering, and then there is something that you are likely going to be given in return. And that is the more reason why in marketing you see that kind of transaction taking place. So transaction is part of the larger idea of relationship marketing. Smart marketers today work towards building relationship. So relationship is something that is of value, and then you need to understand clearly that relationship is intangible. It's not something that you can see physically. And so you have to try as much as you can to plan for it deliberately and see how your stakeholders, and by this I'm talking about the customers, the distributors, the dealers, and suppliers will now be able to now understand and see to that kind of situation. So it's very, very important that we do that. And while after exchange and the transactional relationship, you now have to ask yourself, we're talking about marketing, so what do we mean by markets? In marketing, the term marketing refers to the group of consumers. There could be the customers. So for example, you, my students, are my own consumers, are the customers. So I'm out here to now have this interaction with you. So in this case, the consumers or the organization are those ones interested in the product. And in doing that, they equally have the resources to purchase the product. And so because of that, they are the ones that are permitted by law and other regulation to acquire the product. So that is what we mean by marketing and all that, market at that level. So, but another thing that I want us to understand is about the concept of marketing and marketers. Marketing involves all the processes in getting a product or service from the manufacturer or seller to the ultimate consumers. Whereas the marketer is that person whose duties include the identification of the goods and services desired by a set of consumers, as well as the marketing of those goods and services on behalf of the organization. Marketing functions are very, very critical. And that's the more reason why, like I said earlier, in marketing, there are other critical functions that are key in rendering marketing objective or marketing focus. So marketing functions are very, very important. And in doing that, you all need to understand that, yes, marketing functions cannot be kept away. And if one function is not doing its own job, the other functions are likely going to be affected. So marketing functions operate in a holistic system. In other words, it is in a cycle. And so, for example, if a business offers products that customers don't want, salespeople will not be able to sell that product. No matter how hard they work, if a business offers the right product, but the prices are too high, customers will not buy. If products are not available where customers shop, the business will lose sales to its competitors. So can you think of any other examples that we can also share? Because that's to let you understand. So in this case, even in the academic environment, so you need to look at it clearly. Once the lecturer is not given the desired lecture as expected to the student, you realize that the students, in terms of coming to the class, will now not be effectively be patronized. So I want you to understand, because just to round up the lecture, to look at the classification of marketing function. And this classification, like I told you, is to look at it in a circular form. So there are what we call the 7 marketing functions. So these 7 marketing functions are very critical. You can see in the circular form: marketing planning, product service management, pricing, promotion, marketing information management, channel management, and selling. Each of these elements, each of these functions that we have just talked about are very, very critical. And then in another parlance, we also refer to them as the marketing mix. I just want you to look at it critically, and then let us now try as much as we can to study this, so that when next we meet, we'll now try as much as we can to now continue with our lecture series 2, where we'll now talk about other dimensions of the course. Thank you so much for your attention. Bye for now. I am SAMAILA Mande.